Tenebrous Tingles.
Welcome to Tenebrous Tingles. We are so glad that you are listening again or listening for the first time. This is Eve,
And I'm Sandy.
and we believe here that shadows are just misunderstood and spooky can also be snuggly. So get weird with us. Thanks for coming and staying.
Well, Eve believes that spooky can be snuggly. I personally believe that spooky's fine all by itself. We don't need to be snuggly. We can just be creepy all on our own.
We can have both.
We can have both.
Today we're going to talk to Zandy about Sketoe's Hole in Newton, Alabama.
I am. I was going to do it last week, but we had some technical difficulties and anyway, we ended up having to cut it a little bit shorter. So we're going to go through with that today. So, like Eva said, we're going to be talking about the legend of Sketo's Hole. It's in Newton, Alabama, which is in Dale County. It's in the southeast corner, and it is roughly a mile from where I used to live. So, I do have pictures of the placard that's on the site, the monument that's on the site. I do have pictures of those that I took myself. It's at a really cute little park on the river.
Are you going to link them so they can be seen?
I will. I will. Or I will make it the avatar like I did for Hug and Molly last week.
Nice.
Okay. So William Sketoe was born June 8th of 1818 in Madrid, Spain. He and his father moved to Dale County, Alabama when he was a boy. I don't know whether his mom came too, whether she stayed in Spain, or whether she was even alive at that point, because apparently she wasn't important enough to mention.
Ouch. She's
Yeah,
important.
Yeah,
We're
absolutely.
mentioning her now because she's important.
Definitely. She's important. So shout out to Bill Sketoe's mom. Yeah.
Hi, Mom.
Hi, mom. So he seemed to be well liked in the community in general, aside from the people that we're going to be talking about later. He was a Methodist ministry. He was a me- He was not a whole Methodist ministry. He was a Methodist
All
minister
by himself. He was
all
a
by
force.
himself, and he was a circuit rider, which in the time meant that rather than having his own church, he would go about and preach at different places every Sunday. So that was the difference between a circuit rider and the average minister that would live in his own parish. And is parish the right term? I don't know. In his own
So
little
he had a
area.
family, right? A wife and children.
He did. He did have a wife and children. He had eight.
Were they nomadic in this lifestyle? Did they travel with him for this?
They did not. Circuit Rider, they didn't go far. He would travel around what they call the Wiregrass area. They still call it the Wiregrass area.
Mhm.
He would travel around to other local churches to preach, or different areas, maybe meeting houses or community centers, whatever was available at the time. And he would do his preaching there. I don't know whether they would travel with him on the Sunday to go with him, but it's they stayed put for the most part. And if there was any serious traveling to do, he would be doing that on his own. Women didn't tend to travel, especially when she had eight children, so she was largely
So
pregnant.
many children.
Yeah,
He was
that's
home sometimes,
yeah, clearly
apparently.
he was home sometimes. So
So many babies. So this was during the Civil War era, correct?
this was during the Civil War era. So there are two options for how came up against these people that were part of the local militia that ended in his hanging. And those two options are that he was a deserter from the Confederate Army, or that he was involved in a pro Union gang that destroyed an ammunition train. And I'm going to go into a little bit of detail about both of those. To start with, we're going to talk about the original folklore tale of how he came to be hanged, and then I'm going to move on to what scholars have determined after the fact. So the first
Okay.
story with the folklore story and the area is that he was a part of the Confederate Army, and he got a letter stating that his wife was very ill. And her name was Sarah Clemens. and he loved her very much, and he did have 8 children with her. So obviously, he could not leave a sick wife home alone with 8 children to take care of,
Mm.
and he did need to go back. So he paid another person to take his place in the army, and that was legal up to about a year or so before this happened. So at the time, this
Was
wasn't
it
legal to do.
illegal at that time? Okay.
It was illegal at this time. They had revoked the ability to do that. I don't know why. I don't know exactly when, but it was no longer possible to do that. I'm not sure that a circuit riding Methodist minister would have had the money to pay somebody else to take his place in the army anyway, but that's the original story, was that he had paid somebody else to take part and he had come home to check on his wife.
Well, he may not have had to pay a ton if he was that well liked and that well respected and people loved his family. Someone could have offered to go in his place
They could have.
out of love, you know? It could have happened. I think that it's possible.
It is possible. There's also people out there who just really like being involved in battles.
Mm.
So, it's possible. I don't know. It's never been listed as far as whether or not he had this money or if somebody volunteered, but it was said that he did have somebody else step in for him while he went home, which wasn't legal at this time, but he may not have known that because this was a small area. It wasn't like he was in a populous area. It was a very small farming community at the time. It's still a small farming community. So there's not a lot of people.
I could see how he wouldn't know for sure.
Yeah, even if this is what he did, he may not have known that was no longer legal. The other option is that he was a pro-union affiliate and that he had assisted a renegade band with taking out an ammunition train. And I will talk about the story of how that happened and what occurred a little bit later. Either way, he was home on December 3rd, 1864, in Newton, Alabama, and he ran across what was called the Newton Home Guard, commanded by Joseph Brer at the time. The Home Guard was originally meant to be a group of people who were either exchanged or they were otherwise infirm and could not go to war. So they would be over the age of 60 because it would be everyone from 16 to 60 who were involved in these battles usually.
And the idea was that they were supposed to protect the people left behind, correct?
Yes, right. It was. That was the general idea of a lot of home guards from both the North and the South, was that while the average person, man, was off fighting, there would need to be somebody at home helping with the farming, helping to make sure that brigands did not come down and set things alight, do a lot of awful things to the women and children left behind, as happens during times of strife and conflict. In Dale County, there were no laws going on. There were laws, but there was no one to enforce them. So they hadn't had any circuit court sessions in the last 2 years since at the time that this took place. So it had been 2 years before there were any court sessions happening. There were no sheriffs or anything else taking place to catch these bad guys that were actually doing awful things, and the deserters from both armies who were causing trouble for the locals. So they did form this home guard initially to defend against the problems that were caused by deserters and other bad actors in the area.
And then they just became the whole problem.
Some of them did, some of them stayed okay. This one in particular was ran by Captain Joseph Brer, and Brer was the whole problem. Brer was a big problem. He was a huge issue and a very bad man. Brer was a lawyer in Newton, and he was originally English. He had moved to Dale County in the 1850s. So he had been there about a decade, if that much. He was the Alabama delegate, not delegate. He was an Alabama delegate to the Democratic National Convention of 1860, and he served as a lieutenant in Company Echo, the 15th Alabama Infantry. He was recruited in Dale County. He was also captured at Gettysburg. He was later exchanged and returned home to serve as commander of the local Home Guard unit. When someone is exchanged, that usually means that they are either captured or that they have surrendered, and one army will trade captives with another army. So in this case, it would be the Confederates and the Union soldiers. If a officer is captured or has surrendered, they'll say, hey, we have 45 of your guys, you have 45 of ours, we're going to trade. They're no longer allowed to fight in any of this ongoing dispute, conflict, war, whatever's going on, and they are sent home.
I didn't know that they weren't put back into service. That's interesting.
They were not put back into service. And this goes back to this goes back to very common English rules of combat. So this was something that was seen during the Revolutionary War as well. He was in charge of the local Home Guard unit. It was referred to locally as the Buttermilk Rangers.
It's it's hard to take someone seriously if they're called the Buttermilk Rangers.
Right.
Now, was this an elected position, or did he just come home and be like, yeah, I'm in charge now?
He just came home and said, yeah, I'm in charge now. There's no elected position.
I wonder what he thought of the Buttermilk Rangers name.
I don't know. I don't know whether it was because of something going on in the area. Maybe he just had a real big love for buttermilk biscuits. Maybe it was the color of their clothing. You never really know. Frankly, I love buttermilk biscuits, so I'm going to assume that that's not what it is because he's a terrible person. So they were in the service of the Confederate conscript department, technically. So they had decided, because that they were part of this service, that it was their job to hunt down and punish the deserters. He had already hanged two men that he had determined were deserters and thus had committed acts of treason.
Was it ever looked into whether or not they actually did commit the treason they were accused of? Like, are their names just lost to history at this point?
Their names are lost to history at this point, or they were not associated with Sketoe and what I could find out about Joseph Brer, which is kind of
Hmm,
sad because if people are just murdered outright and hanged for no good reason, then it's not really a good thing to lose who they were.
for sure.
Yeah, people should not be forgotten.
Because that's how they were allowed to continue just rampantly murdering people,
Yep,
because those people were forgotten. That's not right.
exactly. It's definitely not right. The other option for why Skito ran across these particular buttermilk rangers was that it's
Never not going to be funny.
never not going to be funny. So he was suspected of helping John Ward, who was a leader of a band of pro-union people in the area, and he had ambushed and destroyed a Confederate ammunition transport in Dale County about 2 months before this happened. During this onslaught, he did kill an officer who was sent to guard and follow this transport, and one of Brer's men had been shot during the skirmish with Ward as well. After that happened, Brer had caught three guys that he said were involved in the attack as well on the ammunition train, and he was going to hang them. He was prevented from doing so by another Confederate officer who still had his
Position.
position. And the other officer said that there was no evidence against them, so because there was no evidence, he was not going to let Brer hang these three guys out of hand. And Brer did not like having his authority challenged by a guy who was still an officer in the army. So, we can't have somebody challenging Brer. So he was really mad about it. There was nothing he could do.
So he had kind of a vendetta already in this situation, made him more violent.
He needed more violence, and he was really mad that he wasn't allowed to hang people that he wanted to hang because, of course, how dare you tell him no? How dare you? Sketoe was never formally charged or tried for his alleged acts of collusion with Ward, and he was never charged or tried for his alleged desertion. So either way,
Well, there wouldn't have been a place to charge him, right?
there would have been a place to charge him. There would not have been a way to convict him at this time. Presumably, they could have charged him, put him in prison, and left him there until the circuit court could hold trials again.
Okay. But that's the less violent option. And it sounds like Baird just wanted lynchings.
He did. He did. He didn't want the less, he always chose violence. So, despite the fact that there was no evidence and he couldn't corroborate his allegations of treason in any manner, he decided to make Sketoe his third victim and his attempted, what are we on, sixth at this point? If he had succeeded in killing the other three, it would have been his sixth. So, according to legend, Sketoe was stopped on the afternoon of December 3rd, 1864, as he crossed the bridge that went over the Choctawhatchee River. It's just north of Newton. It's in Dale County. It's just outside of Ozark. So it's right there on the border. It's about 3 miles from the town of Newton itself and about 5 from the town of Ozark as far as city centers go.
Okay.
Brer and his men, there were 6 of them in total, they dragged the minister into the woods. They beat him and they forced him to crawl through the sand while they were getting everything ready to kill him.
That sounds awful.
Yeah, it is. It's very awful and just completely unnecessary. If you're going to kill someone, that's bad enough, but you're going to torture them first?
This wasn't about justice. This was about just cruelty, finding an outlet for,
Anger, power, and cruelty.
yeah.
So Sketoe was hauled to a waiting buggy, and he had a rope put around his neck and thrown over a post oak limb. Sketoe's friend, Wesley Dowling, was riding by at the time, saw what was going on, and tried to stop it. And because there were 6 of them and 1 of him, and Sketoe was already bound and had the noose around his neck, he couldn't take part in the fight. So it wasn't even going to be 2 against 6, it would have been 1 against 6. And Dowling did not want to join them, which is what Brer suggested should happen if he didn't mind his own business.
But he tried. Like,
He did try.
he still spoke up. And could you imagine living with that for the rest of your life? Knowing that you were the last one to see him alive and you tried to help and you just couldn't?
He did try. He did not just go, oh well, and walk off though. He rode to Newton for help, came back with 4 other men. So there was 5 of them that returned, but by the time they returned, Sketoe was already dead. But he did try. And then he did run for help.
Yeah. What that's a valiant effort.
It is, and Wesley Dowling should be remembered for this attempt. He was a good friend.
Poor man.
I know. You've got 1 good guy, 6 bad guys.
Well, the 4 that came back with him, those are good guys too. There's a lot of good in this story. Bear doesn't get to take it over with his evil.
That's very true and a great point. So we're going to concentrate on there being good people in the world. Once Dowling was gone, Sketoe asked the Buttermilk Rangers if he could the spoiled buttermilk. The spoiled buttermilk guys.
The spoiled buttermilk. There it is.
The spoiled buttermilk guys were getting him prepared to kill after Dowling took off. And he asked if he could pray. And he was a minister, so they said, yes, okay, you can pray before we do this. The problem is that Sketoe started praying for them instead of praying for himself, and that really, really, really irritated Brer. And Brer,
Because he really wanted to be right. He didn't like having that light shown on his grossness.
exactly. How dare Sketoe pray for him when he is the man?
Right.
At any rate, Brer got mad. He hit the horse. Horse took off running, leaving Sketoe hanging from the tree limb. The problem with this is that they didn't take into account the fact that Sketoe was a very tall, large man, especially for the times.
How tall was he?
I don't know exactly. It's just said that he was above average in height, so he was a tall man, and they didn't really
I
take
think
this.
average then was like 5'10", I think.
I'm thinking it
And
was
now it's like
closer
6 foot.
to,
So,
no, I think it was closer to like 5'6", 5'7" then, and that would have been in large part due to nutrition deficiencies. That's why people didn't get as tall.
okay. So he was taller than 5'7", we can say.
Probably he was taller. At any rate, he was a tall, large man, and his weight bent the limb. Also, it was a new rope, and when you go to hang someone, you're supposed to be using a well-oiled, pre-stretched rope as the
Why do you
executioners.
know that?
I read a lot, and the executioners of old will tell you,
That's so specific.
yes, they will tell you that these hangings that were done by amateurs because they either didn't hang them in the right position so that it would snap their neck cleanly, which I don't know that Brer would have wanted to do that anyway. He probably would have.
No, the cooler option was this for sure.
Yeah, Sketoe was this tall man, and the limb bent under his weight, and the rope stretched a bit, so his feet touched the ground, which meant that he was not dying as they wanted. And at this time, a man named George Eccles, who had to walk with a crutch for some reason, used his crutch to gouge a hole underneath Sketoe's feet, which allowed him to strangle to death before his friends that Wesley went and got.
They had so many chances. The universe threw out so many chances for them to rethink this awful plan. Like a friend just happens along, there's a chance to say, "Oh, this might not be the right idea." He can't even like the it doesn't work, and so they have to put that much effort into digging a hole. That's another chance to reflect on what you're doing, and they just were so bullheaded.
To kill a minister.
Right, but it's like the universe just kept trying to put things in their path like, "Hey, this isn't the right way. Look at what you're doing. Reflect."
Right? But they didn't, so they killed him.
Oh, yeah.
He is buried in Mount Carmel Cemetery, and the epitaph on his stone reads, "Gone but not forgotten," which is very true because here we are talking about him well after the 1860s.
Well after.
So this occurred on what is now Alabama Highway 134. Sorry, Alabama Highway 134. And it was a bridge that goes over the Choctawhatchee River. There is a monument that has been erected in a park nearby. It's right there on the river. There's a nice pavilion nearby. It's a really nice park. It's great. I've been there. It's lovely. You can go have a picnic. You can walk down the river when the water's low and it's big stones, and sometimes they're water moccasins, and that's not great. We don't love that. We get out of the water and run squealing.
So what is it about that area that has brought the story out? What happens there?
Okay, because Eccles did have to dig this hole, there was obviously a gouge carved out into the ground where the hanging occurred. And even after his friends got back and cut him down and took him off to be buried properly, they didn't fill in the hole. Of course, why would they?
And think about how much effort it would take to dig a hole with a crutch that big.
It was about
That
6 inches deep and wide enough that he couldn't reach with his long legs to hit the edge of it. That's a pretty big hole
with
with
a
a crutch.
crutch. That's effort.
It's kind of a sandy area though because it is right on a riverbank.
Okay.
So it's not necessarily like really hard packed earth. It's kind of loose, easy to move. But the fact that this soil is loose,
But you think that would fill in then?
exactly. So you've got a high water table in the area in general. You've got lots of leaves because it's in a forest right along the river. You've got very sandy soil, you've got pine straw, you've got everything else that could be falling into this hole and have it filled up the next time there's a rainstorm at the very least. Doesn't happen. Years go by.
It stays empty. It stays freshly dug.
It stays empty, it stays freshly dug. People go by there and they say, you know, the most I've ever seen in it is like a single piece of pine straw. And it always looks like it has been swept out with a branch of pine straw. You can see like the little scrapey marks in the sand where it looks like somebody has swept it out.
You can still see scraping marks.
You could. And people throughout the years have gone down there and they've done things like filled it in with sand and leaves and pine, everything. They've tried to fill it in. And then they've put their sleeping bags on top of it and slept on it all night to be like, you know what? I'm going to find out if this is true or if somebody is going and sweeping it out every day to make sure that nobody forgets. Well, the next morning they wake up with their butts 6 inches lower because the hole is empty again, even though they were asleep on top of it. And there have been several people that have said that this has happened. They've gone down there, they've put tents up on top of it, they've put bedrolls on it, they've put their sleeping bags in it and slept in it, just all kinds of stuff. And it leaves people feeling uncomfortable and unsettled when they try to do this. So they don't sleep very well. So they're half awake all night whenever this happened.
I mean, if I knew that someone died badly in a specific spot, I don't know if I'd want to sleep there, just generally. But yeah, I mean, there's discomfort just in that alone.
Absolutely. But here they are trying to prove that this is real, that it's actually a haunting of a hole or not. So they try to fill it in and sleep on it to make sure nobody is coming along and opening it, cleaning it out during the day or
Okay.
during the night.
Scientific effect. I appreciate it.
Yeah, everybody loves an experiment, but these all ended the same way.
And your dad was one of the ones that tried this, right?
He did not try it himself because my dad is a little bit more respectful of things than that. He's not the kind of guy that's going to go and try to sleep on top of a grave or where somebody died. He is the kind of guy who's going to go and climb the outside of a fire tower on a dare. But he did have
Okay.
friends when he was in college that tried it and they came back and told him that this is true, they tried it, this happened. Do we believe them? Maybe. I don't know.
Possible.
It's possible. It's possible it happened. It's would have been they would have been some of the last that have tried it though, because in 1979 a new highway bridge was constructed over the site of Sketoe's hanging. So his hole would have been beneath the bridge where it went over it. So all of the trees and stuff would have been cut down at the time. And I'm not sure if the hole remained after that point, but it was there. There just weren't any trees or grass or anything else that could have grown up over it. I don't I don't know of any stories that happened between 1979 and 1990. And in 1990, there was a flood that damaged the bridge, and they had to import a bunch of the large boulders that they use to strengthen riverbanks and bridges. They had to import all of this tons of rock, and the hole ended up being underneath the rock so that the bridge would be more structurally sound and the riverbank would be more structurally sound after this large flood that happened in 1990.
Well, that's important, but this is lost then to us.
It is. I mean, the hole could still be underneath the rocks. We just can't see it or get to it at this point.
Now, the buttermilky guys, they met some terrible ends, right?
They did. The spoiled buttermilk guys, they did meet some terrible ends. One of them was killed when he was riding on horseback, and a limb from a post oak tree, which you'll remember is the same kind of tree that Sketoe was hanged from, fell and hit him in the head and killed him. It was apparently a quiet day, no storm, no wind.
Karma is real.
It is. Something happened, and the post oak was not here for it.
There's an old wives' tale that if someone wrongs you, you tell it to the trees because they'll take care of it for you. I don't know about that, but this tree certainly did that. This tree worked it out.
It did. And I'm going to need you to tell me about that wives' tale in a minute. And we're going to get back to that.
Okay.
So, a second guy was thrown from a mule on an empty, quiet road with nothing going on to spook the mule. Mule just had a fit, threw him off, and he was killed when he hit the ground. A third one was struck by lightning.
Wow.
A fourth one was found dead in a swamp. And the last two, they say, died of mysterious causes, but I don't know what those mysterious causes are. I do know that all
Hmm.
of them kept their doors and windows locked all of the time after this occurred, and that they said that they always had a feeling of dread and like something was watching them and following them until they died.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense.
It does make sense when you're a bad person.
You do something that evil, you don't get to continue doing that without it being noticed by forces bigger than you.
Hopefully. So the site of Sketo's Hole does remain popular with visitors and paranormal researchers to this day. People still go down there, they
What
take
can they
pictures.
do there, though?
I don't know. Mostly they just take pictures of the monument and they just go to see it because it's there. Usually, if they're just traveling through the area, because it's the fastest way to get from Troy to Dothan, you have to cross over that bridge. So people
Okay.
stop at the little park and go, oh, okay, this is where this happened. And they read the placard and they. I was there. I didn't know that that was. I had heard about the story of Sketo's Hold before, but I didn't know that that was there until I went down there one day playing Pokemon Go and I saw the placard and I thought, oh my gosh, I've heard this story. I didn't know it was this close to my house. As you do.
Okay, so the obvious question there is what Pokemon did you find in Sketo's Hole?
Well, I mean, obviously it's covered by the bridge, so I didn't find anything specific. And I don't remember finding any ghost Pokemon in the area, although I did find a lot of Magikarp. But then again, it's a river, so you're going to find a lot of fish
Right
and grass type Pokemon. So
there.
in 2006, Sketo's family members joined Newton officials and they dedicated a monument to their ancestors near the site of his death. That's the aforementioned monument. It was put there in 2006. And it does have brief details of the story. However, it does mention the Confederate Army part. The problem with the Confederate Army part is that he's not on any of the Confederate rosters. So there's no proof that he was a part of the Confederate Army. That's just local legend.
So he might not have deserted because he was never a part of it.
Exactly.
Or it could have been just poor record keeping, which is possible, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a really long time since then, so it could have been poor record keeping. It's just unclear which is true. He could have been a conscientious objector. He could have not wanted to fight on either side. I don't know.
But it does support the theory that they had no reason to hang him and this was just violence for violence sake.
It does.
Like even with those reasons that they tried to have, like it still wasn't justified. But it looked like there was literally no reason.
Exactly. So that has been the story of Sketo's Hole in Newton, Alabama.
Thank you, Sandy. And next,
No, no, we can't close yet. I need to hear the story of the wives' tale about the trees. You need to tell me.
oh, that was kind of it. Do you want me to say it again though, so it doesn't like so it's clearer?
Yes.
So there is an old wives' tale that if someone wrongs you, you tell it to the trees. You just whisper it to the trees, and it's heard and taken care of for you.
And if not, at least there's catharsis.
Yeah, I mean, sure. But in this case, it was really taken very literally. That post oak tree said, bet, I've got you.
It did, apparently. Good job, Post Oak Tree.
Yeah, I don't know if it was supposed to be that literal, but I love the irony. That makes me happy. I mean, as happy as he can be because the story is really sad.
The story is sad and it's pretty dark. But
There is also the theory, though. He had 8 children, and he sounds like he was beloved, not just by his children, but by people. Like, people came running to his rescue.
they did.
It's possible that things were taken into their hands as well.
It is. I mean, not the lightning or the mule on an empty road.
Okay, you know what? Fair. I've forgotten about the lightning. And yeah, you can't really blame that on a person.
But the rest, yeah, absolutely. It could have been revenge.
Possible.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know. I like the karma idea better.
There you go. Bad things happening to bad people.
They had chances. They really really did. They had chances to rethink these choices and they just didn't. So,
They did not.
next week is Alaska, right? I've already picked mine out. Have you picked yours out?
I haven't picked mine out yet. I am so torn. There are so many good cryptids and folklore tales and hauntings in Alaska.
There are. It's been really fun. I ask everyone that I talk to, have you been to Alaska? Have you heard of this? And you know, I've gotten some stories that I wouldn't have expected, and I also found out that my dentist has been to Alaska. So there's that.
Your dentist has been to Alaska. Is he from Alaska?
No.
What did he say about Alaska?
So he did not know anything about the the entity that I'm gonna speak about. But,
Oh, the
you know,
entity.
the entity.
Can I have a hint?
Okay. So I'm gonna try very hard to be respectful in how I say this. I don't speak Inuit. But I have someone who's going to help me. So if I do it wrong now, please forgive me and know that I'm trying to be better before we record the next episode. Um, it's the Kalupalik, and there are different variations. The one that I found is called the gentle Kalupalik.
Gentle.
But there are many. What?
I said so gentle.
Yes. And then I found out that that one's not so common and that it's actually a little bit more scary. But so I'll talk about all variations. But yeah, that's what I have chosen. It's an Inuit legend.
Awesome. I am looking forward to it.
I am too. So should we sign off?
We should.
So, thank you guys for listening with us, and we will see you again next week.
See you next week, and thank you for joining us. Bye.